Today we go retro and we're going to take a look at The Love Bug, which was a film from the 1960s. It's a Walt Disney picture about Herbie, who's a Volkswagen Bug, right? And that's where the title comes from. Now, I did not see this in theaters as a kid, but I remember seeing it as a kid. I must have seen it on The Wonderful World of Disney because it was made before I was born. I do remember going to the sequels in the movie theater, and I remember liking them. I like the Herbie films. I have not seen this since I was a kid, and when we watched it the other night, because we streamed it on Disney Plus, it was like seeing it for the first time because I didn't remember anything about this original Herbie film. Now, you were a little reluctant to watch this, but you did watch it.
Yes, I did not really want to watch it because for some reason I remember the poster. I think I was like searching or something for something to watch, and I saw that, and I'm like, eh. But then when you did tell me to watch it with you, I'm like, okay, I'll give it a try. And I actually liked it. I thought that Herbie was great. I liked the dynamic between Herbie and characters, which I'll talk about later.
Okay. So you enjoyed it. I had a good time too. It was a very, very different film than the films that I think of as Herbie films. So I must be recalling the sequels, which maybe became a little bit more formulaic after this original film. And it was fresh and different than I had expected it to be as far as I recalled it. So I had a good time. I laughed in it. You laughed quite a bit. You especially liked the ending, I know that.
I laughed so much at the ending because Herbie splits in half.
Right. He splits in the front half and the back half. And Buddy Hackett's in the back seat. And the back end of Herbie is passing the front end of Herbie, where Dean Jones and Michelle Lee are. And, you know, Buddy Hackett looks over at them. They look over at him. They have a great comedic take between the two of them. And you were just laughing nonstop through that.
And then the announcer goes, and Herbie takes first and third place.
Exactly. And it was
I thought that
funny.
was very funny.
And you know, that you pointed out the announcer. Now that guy, his name escapes me right now, but he voiced the Blue Falcon and Space Ghost on the Saturday morning cartoons. He was also the announcer at Britt Reed's in the Green Hornet, the TV show. He was the announcer, the radio announcer and the TV announcer in Britt Reed's newspaper office. And so he had great delivery. So a small character, but great part. And the guy who played the villain, I believe, was the father in Mary Poppins. And he played a great villain here. I mean, he did everything short of twirling his mustache, and he might have even twirled his mustache at some point in there. So a lot of good performances from the smaller the smaller characters or the character parts in here. Very different film, like I said, than I remembered. What did you think of this film as a Walt Disney film versus Walt Disney films that we see today?
I think I like this film more, and that's because of the dynamic between Herbie and Tennessee, Herbie and Jim, and then how Tennessee and Jim go kind of against each other in a way.
They're friends, but they fight a little bit in here. You know, Buddy Hackett plays Tennessee, and he's great. He's great delivery. You know, people kind of dismiss him as a lesser Lou Costello, and he did play Lou Costello in a biography of him. But he's got his own characterization here, and I think he was great. I think he was great in the part, and I thought he brought a lot of heart to the piece. And then, you know, Dean Jones, he plays this likable, unlikable character who ultimately, you know, turns around and we like him in the end. You know, he comes to see who he is and what Herbie's value is, and he looks at other people instead of just himself through the process here. And Herbie, let's just talk a little bit about Herbie for a minute. Herbie, unlike a lot of the characters that would be inanimate objects or animals that we see in movies today, Herbie's a car. He's a car. He doesn't talk. He doesn't use his radio to talk. He doesn't talk. He doesn't have eyes that move. He just does things, and he's alive, but you understand exactly what he's doing without him having to do those things, right?
Right. Even though he doesn't talk, he will do certain things that you know what he's trying to go for, and you know what he you kind of can predict really what happens with Herbie doing what he's gonna do.
Now, we've talked in here before, like about some of the animal films where they have the animals voiced, or they even go so far as to move the animal's lips. And you've expressed that you don't like that very much.
No, I think maybe when they just give the thoughts, it's a little better, but even then I can already tell what it's going to do.
Right, I think it goes back to, we talked about this before, there was Lassie, there was Benji when I was a kid. They never spoke, their lips never moved. They were real animals that were filmed, and you knew what they were thinking. You knew what they were thinking because it was so well filmed and so well structured that you could follow what they were trying to do. You didn't need them to talk. You didn't need their lips to move. And it allowed you as a kid to use your imagination. It's the same thing with Herbie here. He doesn't talk. You know what he's doing though. You know what he's feeling. You know what he's thinking. And I think some of the films today, I think they go too far with that stuff because they're able to. They have the technology to do it, so they do it. But I think it sells kids short. It sells the audience short because I think they have imaginations that can fill in the blanks in those cases. Visually, what did you think of this film? For a film that's, almost 50, it's over 50 years old actually.
I liked this film. I thought that the scenes were really cool with Herbie and him actually moving inside of the scenes. I thought they were very clever when it came to that.
Yeah, in the scenery in this is Disney films for me, especially of this era, always have a different look than other movies. They're always richer in color, more saturated, and much more magical in that sense. And I think, they were filming in front of either on location or in front of backdrops here, and the backdrops were beautifully painted. You could tell they were a backdrop, but you didn't care because you knew where they wanted you to be. At the beginning when we're in San Francisco, part of that is a backdrop.
I didn't know that until you said it.
And I think they were trying to duplicate the lush, rich color of the animated films that they'd become known for at this point in their live action films by doing that with the backdrops. And it's different than when they film, they put CGI backdrops or animated things in today, because it was so rich and so there and real and tangible. So I think that was something. Now, they did make several sequels at the time for this. I believe Dean Jones continued in the role. I'm not sure how long Buddy Hackett stayed in. I can't remember. We'd have to look. You're interested in seeing more of these? Mm-hmm. Yep. And they made a more modern reboot some years back with Lindsay Lohan, which I did see in theaters, and I remember thinking it was pretty good. And then they didn't make a sequel to that, which I think they're due. I think we're going to see something eventually. I do. What else?
I don't think anything, really.
How did you feel about the other characters involved? We didn't touch on Michelle Lee's character.
I do like her. I like what she did with Tennessee and how she was talking with Tennessee. And then she did express what Tennessee did, what Tennessee told her. I think she did well with giving it to Jim.
Right. I think we see the action of the film almost through her eyes. She's sort of the innocent bystander that's witnessing this. Mm-hmm. Dean Jones seems to accept, he thinks it's going a certain way. He thinks it's him that's driving, whatever else. Tennessee knows that there's more to Herbie than meets the eye. She's like us. She's somewhat like witnessing it from the outside, but she's involved with the character. So we kind of see it through her eyes a little bit. I think she does a really good job of presenting it to us and letting us see the film through her in that way. And she's connected to the bad guy because at first she works for him as a salesperson, right? She's selling cars. Okay, so you're in for more Herbie movies in the future.
Oh, yeah.
Yummy or crummy for this one?
Yummy.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a yummy too. It's certainly a little over the top. It's very tongue-in-cheek. It doesn't take itself too seriously. It's silly in parts, but it knows that. And if you go in with that mentality, I think you could have a really good time with this. And, I think, Colton seemed to enjoy what he saw of it. He was very tired, but he seemed to enjoy parts of it too. And he's interested in seeing more Herbie movies. So, I think it still plays, which is pretty cool after 50 years. Okay.